I have two neighbors who have retired. They're in their 60s. I was talking to them about, we were outside and I actually got down on the ground and I was like, can you do this? Can you get up from the ground without using your hands? I'm like, this is what you should be making sure that you could be doing. I think people just don't understand how physical strength is the foundation of independence. And it takes more and more effort for us to stay strong. So going back to that example of in our 20s, right? We had muscle. We didn't have to work at building muscle. But now, for me, is a great example. A woman in my 50s, like, I need to be doing a lot more to stay strong. And it is, I'm going to say it again, it's the foundation of independence.
Aging Well at Home. Welcome back to Aging Well at Home series. This month we're focusing on strength and safety, two important factors that affect all individuals at home or no matter where they live. As we age, changes in strength, balance, mobility, and overall health can affect how safety and safely we navigate our daily lives. The good news is that many risks can be identified early and there are resources available to help for older adults to remain active, strong, and safe. Today, I'm joined with Elizabeth Williams, the Executive Director of Mountain Aging Partners. Mountain Aging Partners serves older adults throughout our region by connecting them with programs, services, and resources that support healthy aging, independence, and quality of life. Elizabeth, thank you so much for being here today.
It is my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
To begin, what are some of the most common home safety risks that older adults face?
I think one of the biggest things is just you stop noticing, like, your house and, the things like, so this is a good instance. I just noticed during this video call that there's all kinds of stuff around my fan that needs to be scraped off. I have been doing tons and tons of video calls, and I have never noticed that before. That's, I think, the biggest thing is you stop seeing, like, what needs to be addressed in your house. It just becomes sort of a blur, right? Loose rugs, poor lighting, cluttered walkways, stairs without railings, bathrooms without grab bars. Most falls happen at home during, like, everyday activities when you're, like, rushing around or you're carrying something or you're getting up too quickly. So just that first part is just really noticing your environment. Another risk is isolation. I don't think people always think of loneliness or isolation as a safety issue, but it absolutely is. When someone is isolated, small problems can go unnoticed until they become emergencies. And that just goes back to what I was saying, is someone else coming into your house and seeing that pile of newspapers that you might keep next to your recliner, how you don't see it anymore, but someone else might be like, oh, let's move that out from under you and get that to a different space. Medication management is also another big one. People may accidentally take medications incorrectly, forget doses, mix medications. And then there's obviously also subtle cognitive changes, forgetting the stove, confusion with bills, difficulty judging risks.
Those are some great ones, absolutely. Because I know when I visit my mom, it's funny you should say the newspapers. She does the exact same thing, Elizabeth. She sits them like in piles around her recliner, so they're easy to get to. But then she tries to step over them, and it's a risk. It's so funny you should say that. That's a great point.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, it
Yes,
is.
I've seen it. I've seen it lots of times. It's not just. That's why we're talking about it. And she doesn't. It makes sense for her. It works for her. She's been doing it for years, but at some point she could fall over those. So can we make a different system?
Exactly. Great thing, great thinking, that's for sure. What are some other warning signs that a home environment may no longer be safe as it once was?
Yeah, so I think is to start looking at for yourself or for family members. I think they think that there's going to be one dramatic event, but there's lots of little warning signs. So, like increased falls or near falls, bruising because you're not being able to be safe in your environment, difficulty standing up can make a big difference. Weight loss is another thing to be noticing in yourself and to your family members. Spoiled food in the refrigerator. Missed medications is like a really great way to know. You can assess this. You can look at the bottle and you can see that they're supposed to be, it's supposed to be for 30 days. You can see it's the 15th of the month or that this is when the subscription was filled. And is there 15 less? So you don't have to be there to like catch, but there's a few little things that you can be checking on that. Again, the burn pans, unopened mail, confusion, and then withdrawing from activity. So those are like all kinds of things for families when they're looking at mothers and fathers, or they're also looking at their spouses if things are d- are are changing. The house tells that story, and we don't want to wait for a crisis. So the earlier, the better to preserve that independence and provide more choices.
Absolutely. One question I would ask is following up, like you said, on the medications. When you want to involve your mom in reviewing her medications instead of just picking up the bottle, what are some examples or wording that the adult children could say instead of the harshness of, I'm
Mm.
counting your pills because you're forgetful?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I love that. That's a great. It really depends upon your parent and your relationship, but so just trying to understand who they are, what's important to them, and just remembering that this is a difficult change of you getting involved in the details of their life. And again, it depends upon the parent, but just hey, this is something I do for myself. I know I miss medications. I know I have my little tray. How do you make sure that you're not doing that? So that's where I would start of bringing it to this is happening to me at my age. I'm aware of this issue. Do you have that issue? Let's talk about it and see where that goes.
Oh, that's a great idea. I know for my mom, a few years ago, we were setting up her medications, and I picked up Tylenol capsules instead of the tablets or vice versa. And I put them in her pill box, and Elizabeth, she didn't take them. And I said, Mom,
Mhm.
what's up? What's going on? She says, Oh, these are wrong. And even
Mm.
though it was the same Tylenol, the same everything, just the change in the shape and color alerted her to like, oh, something's not right. So I think, like you said, being involved and looking at those medications, I love that idea. The other
Yeah,
one,
and that's a great
yeah,
that's a great example because medications they change, the color changes
I-
sometimes.
yeah, I
Not
don't know
even just
why they do that, but they do. And I'm like, yeah,
yeah.
so that's a great one, and the food in the refrigerator is another good one. Sometimes they can't see the date on it, so maybe writing
Mhm.
it with a Sharpie larger for
Mhm.
them to see, or if they got takeout, a date on it so they know when it expires, and I think like you're saying, those warning signs are often small and can be overlooked.
Right. I love that the house is telling the story of what's going on there. Going back to the newspaper example, that story is telling us that your mom is younger and stronger. She's in her mind, she is younger and stronger than maybe she actually is in her 90s. So she's thinking of herself as a fit 60-year-old when now she's actually, and I'm just obviously making this up, but now she's a more fragile 80-year-old. So it's a difference to falling and breaking your hip or breaking a bone at 60 versus 70 versus 80 versus 90. And so,
Absolutely.
yep, you used to be able to navigate this and if you did fall, you could bounce back. And that just gets harder and harder as we get older. And it's just a reflection of what happens to the body.
Right. And, Mom, if I fell, I wouldn't bounce back if I was 20. So, like you
Right,
said,
right, right.
yep, exactly. That's a great
And
idea.
that's a great way to start that conversation of just like, yeah, none of us are 20 anymore. We knew what happened when we were 20 that that cut healed up in
Yeah.
in days and you didn't have
Yeah.
to do anything, and now, right, if there's bruising, it takes longer, etcetera. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So, how does physical strength and mobility affect a person's ability to age safely and independently at home?
I love this question. It's funny. I have 2 neighbors who have retired. They're in their 60s. They live across from me, and I was talking to them about we were outside, and I actually got down on the ground, and I was like, "Can you do this? Can you get up, from the ground without using your hands?" I'm like, "This is what you should be making sure that you could be doing." And then I checked in on them yesterday. I was like, "Have you guys started that exercise?" I think people just don't understand how physical strength is the foundation of independence. And it takes more and more effort for us to stay strong. So going back to that example of in our 20s, right? We had muscle. We didn't have to work at building muscle. But now, for me, is a great example. A woman in my 50s, like I need to be doing a lot more to stay strong. And it is, I'm going to say it again, it's the foundation of independence. So
Absolutely.
simple things like standing up, bathing, cooking, walking to the mailbox, getting into the car, all of that depends upon mobility and strength. And when people lose strength, they start doing less because they're afraid of falling. And unfortunately, that becomes a cycle of even more weakness.
Absolutely.
And so I encourage that strengths can improve at almost any age. So it doesn't take very much. But when people start just lifting the weights or doing the exercises of like standing up from the chair without pushing off, just like the standing up, um, it makes a huge, huge, huge difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, maintaining strength isn't just about the exercising like you're talking about, it's the ability to perform the everyday tasks. So, you mentioned being able to sit, I mean, from the sitting position to stand. What are some other just good everyday ideas for like getting dishes out or groceries in, or what do you suggest? Some other fun, simple activities?
I don't know if there's fun, simple activities to these chores you're talking about, but I'd like to trying to
Yeah,
trying.
sure.
I mean, there's lots of places to go to be building strength. So there's the Y has programs, senior centers in Buncombe, they have programs. There are Land of Sky, Triple A has programs. If you're interested in those kinds of things, I also like just competitions with your friends and your neighbors. Like, so I can get up from the ground without using my hands, or I can get up off of my chair 20 times without using my hands. And so just finding ways to make it fun, maybe keeping track of it. Again, maybe it's comparing you and your sister who are aging together, or you or your husband or wife, of rooting each other on and making it a game and making it fun. But I mean, like for me, I do it all the time. So I'm actually at a standing desk right now. I brush my teeth every single morning on like one leg. I do that to work my balance. Sometimes I try doing it with my eyes closed. So I work it into my life all the time of just trying to stay strong and create balance and strength.
Elizabeth, I just had a visual of me trying to brush my teeth with standing on one foot. That would be very interesting. But I love that
It's a
because I don't do
it's
that. And I'm in my 50s also. And I'm like, can I get up from the sitting position 20 times, like without using my hand? Like I'm like, can I do that?
So that one is I highly recommend that one, and it's easy, like, anytime you get up, instead of using your hands, just get up and then do it a few extra times. And the thing I love about the toothbrush is you're supposed to brush your teeth for 2 minutes, right? So that's like that is a really good place to be like, "Yep, I can stand for 2 minutes. You can't see me, but I'm doing it on one leg right now."
Mhm.
Standing for 2 minutes and brushing your teeth, you take care of 2 things at once.
Absolutely. I've heard that before, and I've heard brushing your teeth with your non-dominant hand also
Yeah,
is yeah,
I do stuff like that
exactly,
too.
exactly. Well, you
Mhm.
kind of already touched on this, but I'll still ask. is some programs or community resources if I am a adult child somewhere not here in this area. What could I look for or search for older adults, for my mom, to maintain strength or balance or mobility? What resources?
Yeah, so there's a lot more out there than I think people realize. A great place to start is if you are not sure of your mom's or your own physical capability, you can start with a physical therapist or occupational therapist and just tell them you want to be aging in place and you want to be making sure that you're as strong as possible for living alone or living with your husband or whatever it is. It's obviously especially important after an illness or hospitalization. I think that's when people often go to it, but you can be really proactive about it. And so there's that, which I highly recommend, physical therapy or occupational therapy. There's also lots of exercise programs out there. So the both Parks and Recs in Buncombe and Henderson County have great programs. They're doing lots and lots of exercise groups. So check out the Park and Rec with your local county. As I said, the YMCA also has lots and lots and lots of programs. The senior centers in Buncombe, lots of activities, chair yoga, tai chi, balance classes, walking groups. All of those things are out there. And so just be searching older adults, or you don't even have to do older adults, right? Just adults, exercise, and in the county, and you're going to come up with a robust list.
That's great suggestions, absolutely. And I love that you said again that if you want to age in place, now is the time to start strengthening, to start thinking about and realizing that. So that's just, it goes right back to what we were talking about having that plan and making those small changes while you can. Absolutely. How can family members recognize a decline in strength in their loved one at home to see if it is starting to impact them being safe at home?
Yeah, I think one of the things that families can see is if something is different, something has changed, if there's hesitation. So someone who used to move confidently now avoids the stairs, or avoiding outings, or they're avoiding going into the backyard, or needing furniture to push up. So families should watch for like difficulty carrying groceries or walking distances, getting out of bed. So just not be saying, oh, yeah, mom's just getting older or dad's just getting older. Yes, but in order for them to be staying at home, they need to be building strength. And so if you're seeing that they're doing less and less because they're worried about falling, that's usually an indicator that they are having fear and that they're also struggling because they're losing their strength and they're losing their balance and they're aware of that. And so looking for the ways that they are doing things differently. And some of it could be wise, right? Like it's maybe a great idea not to carry 6 grocery bags in. So that's okay. But so just looking at like, yeah, are things changing because they are aware that they're stumbling or that they're falling or that they're not having as much strength?
Absolutely. And this leads into a great question is how can older adults stay independent while asking for help?
Yeah, I think people hear the word help and they think it means losing independence.
Mm.
Okay. They hear help and they think, oh, that means I'm losing independence. But it's actually the opposite, right? The right support helps people remain independent longer. And then maybe it's a grab bar in the bathroom, maybe it's meals delivered, maybe it's transportation assistance, maybe it's attending a program. There's lots and lots of different ways that people can get support to prevent a crisis and help people stay safely at home much longer. So really it's flipping. It's not you need help. It's what are we doing to make sure that you are strong and safe and you can live here as long as you would like to. And I think something that really resonates when you're talking to folks about like, do you want to fall and break a hip and have to go to the hospital? Do you want to be staying in your home? Then this is how we need to make sure that you're staying in your home. And that might mean putting a grab bar in. And yeah, a grab bar is not sexy or exciting. And yes, it means you're getting older, but it also means that it's safe. Number one, more household accidents happen in the bathroom than anywhere, and at any age, right? Like anybody can slip. And the difference is as you're older and you don't have that strong core and you don't have that balance, that slip that I can recover from at 50, that, the 20-year-old doesn't even think about. At 80, that means a fall. So everybody falls, everybody slips, but put some of those things in place to make sure that you're independent and not losing your independence versus getting help.
Absolutely. I love how you said that. Absolutely. So, how do you approach a loved one who is resistant for help and says, "I'm fine. I'm fine. I don't need help. I'm okay, Elizabeth. I'm fine."
Yeah, so we kind of I kind of hit upon this a little bit, but so trying to it's this is really common, trying to have that conversation and have it resonate with the to who you're talking to. So most people want to maintain control over their lives. Aging can obviously feel really vulnerable. So I encourage people to start listening instead of immediately trying to fix things. This goes back to what you talked about earlier with the pill bottle, right? So, and then focus on shared goals. So starting with listening instead of fixing, and then shared goals. I know you want to live at home. I know you want to be safe. I know you want to be independent. We want to support you in that. What do you think we need to do and able to support that? So that can make a difference. And then also sometimes, people are stubborn and they say they're fine. And what I would do in that case is try to bring other people to mind that also said that they were fine. And we also saw we're strong and independent. Everybody knows someone who's aging, who's had that fall or had something that happened that made them have to make choices to go into a nursing home or have assisted living or something like this.
Mhm.
So let's not have that happen to you. What do we need to do to make sure that doesn't happen to you?
I love that. And I think one thing that you said that was so, so important is have common goals, have a common dialogue of, okay, mom, dad, loved one, you want to stay at home. What do we need to do to help you do that? Is that something you want to do? And then it's again that conversation that we've come back to so many times about having that conversation of, okay, if you want to stay home and age safely, what do we need to do? What are the steps? And I think a lot of times people say, well, I just have to be more careful. Well, okay. What
Right.
what does that mean? Like that's
That's part of it, maybe.
yeah, exactly. So I do another question is you touched on falls. How do falls affect someone emotionally and well-being and confidently? Like the emotional well-being when you take a fall and the confidence. How does that affect someone?
I think that we all have seen this, right? Like a fall is actually much more than like what happens to you physically. After a fall, many people become fearful and they do things differently. They stop going out, or maybe they stop moving as much, or limit what they're doing. Maybe they fell in the rain and oh, I'm not going to go out in the rain, or they fell, walking down a driveway. So you can see that it's the world can become a little bit smaller, but then what's happening is your body is getting weaker in that. So there's so yes, maybe what they did to cause a fall was not wise and they should not do that again. But most of the time it's not something like that. It is that fall in the bathroom, that slip, and there wasn't something to grab and you didn't have that strength. And so it's a vicious cycle of being fearful and being scared. And so maybe you're stopping to taking a shower and you're not using now you're using a shower seat. That could be great. Maybe that's the right solution. But if you're not building on the strength too, and you're not increasing that physical confidence, that's what starts putting you at risk.
Absolutely. One thing I was thinking of, Elizabeth, when we were talking about falls is I took a fall about 6, 8 months ago, and I never thought about the emotional part of it or the
Mm,
mental part. But you're right.
mm.
I never thought we started talking. I'm like, she's right. Like, I am a little more careful with where I put my feet, and I am a little more aware. And so that is kind of interesting. And then this other part was, Elizabeth, I did not share with my mom that I fell. And
Oh,
I was like, why didn't I? And I was like,
interesting.
yeah. And I was like, well, I didn't want to worry her, first off. And then I'm sitting here
Mhm,
having this conversation going, I should have told her, and I could still tell her, but like, I should have told her because that way she realizes, as I realized, we all fall and we don't recover
mhm,
like we're 20. And so in hindsight, I'm like, yeah, I should have told her. Like, there was no reason not
mhm.
to. My thought was, "Oh, I don't need to bother her and, let her worry about it." But she is mom, and that's what she does. So maybe if I would have shared or could still, that would maybe help her know that I know that feeling and that it would be a kind of a sharing experience.
Mhm.
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I love that, that's fascinating. It's interesting how there is this vulnerability about falling. There is I mean, you lose control. I mean, it's a scary thing. It's a because you don't know what's gonna happen when you land. And there is very much a connection to being weak or older. It's interesting because we had someone at work who fell. It was the last maybe 2 weekends ago, and she was wearing flip-flops, and she was going into the store, and they were wet, and they, like, kinda caught, and she fell, and she had to stay home for a day to recover, and she's 40, and she was giving herself a hard time, and no, everybody falls.
Yeah,
Everybody falls. They really do. It just there are things you can do to strengthen that, and there are things that you can do to prevent it. But it's fascinating that, yeah, that you didn't tell your mom
yeah,
'cause there's a vulnerability in it,
absolutely.
and, no one wants to be the person on the ground, like, you don't want anyone to witness you falling. There's so much interesting emotionality around it.
It is, and I was not even thinking
It's
about it.
scary.
Yeah, and it was funny because I was like, "Why didn't I share this?" It was just one of those where
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, it was
It's a
just
good
kinda funny.
insight.
Yeah. So if you see a family beginning and maybe needing support, how how does someone know, "Oh, it was just a fall. Like, I don't need help. It was just a fall." But how do you know when you should consider additional support for someone?
So I just always think the earlier than most people think, the earlier the better. And support doesn't mean this major, huge intervention. It doesn't necessarily mean, oh, mom, you're going to have to come move in with us, or now is the time for assisted living, or whatever it is. And I love the assisted living model. So I'm just putting that out there. I think that there's lots of great options, and aging in place and aging in your home is not the best one for most people. So just saying that, but so it doesn't necessarily mean a major intervention. It just is what we were talking about. It's just beginning the conversation, exploring resources, putting small supports in place before there's a crisis. And the earlier you begin having those conversations, the earlier you begin planning, the more choices everyone usually has.
Very well said. Love that. So, Elizabeth, Executive Director with Mountain Aging Partners, thank you again for being here and sharing these insights. It was very helpful and very useful information you've shared, and how important it is to pay attention to the physical strength, the home safety as we age. And as you said, what is the house telling you? What is the home environment telling you? I think that is an incredible takeaway that if you walk in and just let the house and the surroundings speak to you, that is a great, great insight. So, if you'd like to learn more about local aging resources or explore additional conversations from our Aging Well at Home series, visit carolinalivingchoices.com. And if there is a topic you'd like for us to cover in the future, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you for joining us and have a great day.